All right, so let's get started. When thinking about graduation, I really wanted to start this presentation and start it off with letting you know that graduation and commencement are two separate entities. And I think that's the foundation as far as understanding graduation and commencement. So essentially, graduation is a term in which you have completed all of your degree requirements. So students can graduate in spring, summer, and fall. And in those terms, when you complete all of your degree requirements, the diploma is actually sent to you in the mail, okay? That's graduation. On the other end, we have commencement, and commencement is a ceremony and only a ceremony. It allows you to dress up in your cap and gown, walk across the stage, and then when you walk across the stage, what they give you is essentially just like a certificate of participation that you participated in the commencement ceremony. It only occurs once a year, or at least it did before COVID, and that happened in the springtime. But this commencement ceremony does not award a degree. So I want you to keep those two things in mind as we progress through this presentation, all right? So when we look at graduation specifically, there are three requirements that need to be met. So number one is your degree requirements, meaning all of the classes on your curriculum sheet must be completed, or if there is a substitution or a petition that was submitted, it has to be submitted in order for you to graduate. The second thing is you need to meet the unit requirements. So at the end of your transcript, your unofficial transcript, when you pull it up from Bronco Direct, the number at the end in terms of all of the units that you have completed at Cal Poly and another school have to total 120. The third requirement is that all three of your GPAs must be at a minimum of 2.0. That includes your Cal Poly Pomona GPA, your overall GPA, and your major core GPA, which is on your degree progress report, okay? In terms of the graduation application process, the graduation application should only be submitted for the term in which you are truly completing all degree requirements. So to give you an example, if you are completing all of your classes in summer, you're submitting a summer graduation application. If you're submitting all of your degree requirements, unit requirements, and GPA requirements in fall, that is the term that you are applying for. The application is available through Bronco Direct in your student center. And typically students have the opportunity to apply for graduation the term before they are graduating. So again, just to give you an example, if you're graduating, let's say in summer, you technically already have the opportunity to apply for summer graduation now through Bronco Direct, term before. The benefits of applying a term before is that you would receive a graduating senior registration appointment. And I want to clarify this point because I feel like there's a lot of misconception around it. I feel like students think that this is a priority registration appointment, and I want to let you know that it's not. So the graduating senior registration appointment is after priority, but essentially it is a few days before a regular senior standing appointment that you would have gotten just being a senior, one that had not applied for graduation. I'll show you some more details surrounding that in the next slide. If you do not apply early, so let's say for instance you don't apply the term before, you still have an opportunity to apply for graduation in the term that you are actually graduating. So that is an option, and I'll show you some examples of some dates in the next slide. I want to remind you that a grad check or meeting with an advisor does not need to be completed before applying for graduation. If you have your MAP planned out and you are certain that you're going to complete all of your requirements in a future term, you can go ahead and apply for graduation at that time, okay? Your degree progress report does not need to be cleared. I think, again, this is a huge misconception for some of our students, especially because of semester conversion. They may see some red boxes on the degree progress report. If there is a viable solution and one that you've discussed with an advisor in the past, if you submitted a petition and got an approval on it, that's enough for you to go ahead and apply for graduation. You don't have to wait for the degree progress report to be fixed. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, okay? So next I'm going to give you an example of the application deadlines and what to look for when applying for graduation. So this screenshot I pulled from the registrar's office website. And if one of my assistants can help me and send that link in the chat so everyone has access to it, they're going to provide you with the website where you can view the graduation application timelines, essentially where I pulled this from. I want you, if you can, to bookmark this page. Why? Because this is the page where the registrar's office will be updating the graduation application timelines to include summer and to include fall of 21. To give you an example, we're going to use the spring term and look at the spring term. The spring application for spring of 21 opened a term before. So it opened up in September of 2020, which was fall of 2020, and it closes in March 12th. Excuse me. So it closes in that same term. If you apply by the date listed on this column, October 9th, that would give you that graduating senior registration appointment that I referred to. Again, it's not priority, but it is still a few days lead to ensure that you can grab the classes that you need in a timely manner. The deadlines for summer and fall haven't been posted, like I said, on that website. But again, when they are, I want you to keep in mind and try to apply by the date listed in this third column that I mentioned here, okay? So after your application is submitted, I want to let you know that the registrar's office will not review your application until grades for your final term have been awarded. So essentially, when you submit the application, there's like no review process that happens then and there. I know a lot of students tell me that they're afraid to submit the application because they'll be denied, but there's no way of really denying you until after your grades for your last term come in. Okay, so really when you apply for graduation, really all it is you selecting a term and the term that you want to graduate, meaning complete all of your degree requirements. Essentially, no news is good news. So if the registrar's office and the College of Science Advising Center doesn't reach out to you, that means that you are truly on track to graduate in the term that you selected, that you would be done. So our office does run a campaign in which we reach out to students with some type of deficiency, meaning they're missing a requirement, or maybe we just need some type of clarification. We reach out to those students, and generally we reach out to them like midterm. For spring, I'm thinking we're probably going to reach out to students around April, just to give you an idea. But essentially, if you don't hear from our office, then again, you are fully on track for graduation, okay? So what happens next? So once your grades come in, the university will wait for a few things to happen. So they will wait for academic standing to run. They're going to wait for the university to run their automated grade forgiveness process. And once that happens, they're going to begin reviewing applications for graduation. It may take a few weeks before you hear from the registrar's office, but once you hear from them, they're going to email you a congratulatory email. And that email will include an exit survey. The exit survey and completion of exit survey is very important because that initiates the printing of your diploma. So essentially, once you get that email, make sure you respond to the exit survey as soon as you can, because that's what's going to send that diploma over to you. Just to give you an example, for those of you that are joining us that have applied for spring of 21 graduation, realistically, you can expect that email anytime between June and August, maybe even September. Why? Because spring is such a large graduating class. So it's going to take the university some time to review all of those graduation applications, okay? In terms of access to your Cal Poly Pomona email, you generally have access to that email about a semester after you're done at Cal Poly. After that, you no longer have access to it. You do have access to the Career Center for a year after you have graduated. So I always tell my students to please, utilize that resource. They do post job opportunities on there. They offer assistance with like, interviewing, like mock interviews. And obviously you get the opportunity to meet with a career specialist that can help with like your resume, personal statement if you're thinking about continuing your education. So definitely utilize that resource even after you have graduated. I now want to talk about commencement. So remember when I started the presentation, I mentioned that graduation was a separate process and commencement was a separate process. So again, to revisit that conversation, commencement is truly just a ceremony. And students that apply for spring graduation through Bronco Direct are automatically eligible to participate in a spring ceremony, right? Summer and fall graduation applicants through Bronco Direct participate in the spring ceremony for the following year. So essentially, you default to participate in the previous year's commencement. So to give you an example, a student that submits a fall 2021 graduation application through Bronco Direct, meaning they're done with all of their classes in fall, is eligible to participate in the commencement ceremony for spring of 22. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer onto this for a sec, and I'm going to introduce early commencement participation, or as it existed pre-COVID. And I'm saying that cautiously because I don't know what early commencement participation looks like, or even if it will be offered this year due to COVID and social distancing. So the early commencement participation is a separate application. This is not through Bronco Direct. I want to clarify, it's not an application you submit through Bronco Direct. This allows students finishing their degree in summer or fall to walk in the spring ceremony of the same year without having to wait a year, okay? It is only eligible for students who are 6 units or 2 classes away from their degree. To give you an example and revisit the example that I gave here, if a student is graduating in fall of 21 and has 2 classes remaining, they may be eligible to apply for early commencement participation and walk in spring of 21 without having to wait until the following year, spring of 22. But this is where I want you to please note that the early commencement participation option is only available if there is a spring commencement ceremony. As of today, February 23rd, the university has not decided what their plans are for commencement in 21. I don't know if early commencement participation will be an option this year, because I know a lot of students are letting me know, hey, you know, I'm done in summer, I'm done in fall, can I just please apply for early commencement? There is no application as of today. I want you to follow us and stay connected. Number one is because if we find out that commencement is offered in 2021, we will make sure to update our social media and let all of you know. But number two, we plan to have other mini series be offered this year surrounding different topics. So that way you can see what those other topics are and then when they will be offered. With that being said, I want to now move on to some of the questions in the chat.
Vanessa, I can read off some of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been answering a lot of them verbally, but if you can hold off just for 1 second, because we want to make sure we get to all of them. So I didn't answer Rochelle's question, which was, how can we check our application for graduation was approved?
So essentially, again, reminding you, there's really no way to check for approval until after you are done with your classes. So if you applied for spring 21 graduation, we won't know that you're done until you get your spring 21 grades. So essentially, there really is no way to approve it until after those grades come in.
Thank you. The next question, there's a lot of questions about GWT, and so just thought we could address that verbally.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Definitely will add it to my presentation in the future. The graduate writing test was waived for students graduating in spring and summer. So if you see that red box on your degree progress report, disregard it. You can be graduated with that missing. In terms of the future, fall 21, spring of 22, I have no idea what that looks like. My only recommendation is that you continue monitoring your Cal Poly Pomona email address and see if the university has any updates on whether or not they're going to bring that requirement back.
Thank you. Okay, so for fall 2021 graduation, we apply in summer, right? A term before?
So that is correct. If you go to the registrar's office website that we shared in the chat, you know, that has those application deadlines. It's not going to have fall of 21 there yet, but in my experience, it tends to open up around the same time. So to be quite honest with you, next week, you can go to Bronco Direct and check whether or not the fall of 21 application is open, and it should be because that will be the week of March 4th.
Thank you. Okay, I think I responded to the other ones, but now I'm going to the most recent one. So can I rescind my graduation application if I decide to stay an extra semester?
You can, but I would highly suggest that you make an appointment with myself or another advisor in the College of Science Advising Center just to review reasons why you're choosing to rescind, and then we can definitely let you know the process in order to do so. Generally, the university is concerned with giving you that 1 degree. So if you are done with all of your degree requirements, we're going to try and make sure that you graduate in the term that you are done, unless there is an extenuating reason. And that's why I want you to set up an appointment with an advisor to discuss a little bit further.
Okay. Do we still apply for commencement even though there might not be one?
So again, as I mentioned, when I talked about early commencement participation, the only reason why you would need to apply for commencement is if you are choosing to do early commencement, meaning you're not done in spring. So I want to clarify that point first. And remember, I mentioned there is no application available today, so there's really no way you can apply because the university hasn't decided what they're going to do. If you are done in the term in which commencement happens, meaning you are done in spring of 21, you're automatically eligible to participate in the commencement if the university decides to do one. So there's no extra application you need to submit. You're automatically entitled to be a part of it. Same is true if you want to wait till the following year. So for instance, if you're done in summer and fall and you want to default and just walk in spring of 22, that's fine. You don't have to submit an early commencement participation if one is available.
Okay, thank you. If I graduate in summer 2021, what is the estimate time to receive the diploma?
So, I mean, honestly, it could be anywhere from late August to maybe early October. There is opportunities for you to expedite the awarding of your degree if you were admitted into a program or if you got a job offer. But in order to expedite, you would need to let me know. So send me an email and proof of you being admitted into a program, and then I can request that your degree be expedited. But if really you have no proof of either of those two, you would just have to wait.
Okay. How long should we expect for a petition to show on Blackboard? I think they mean degree progress report. But it says, I had several filed for me, got an email saying they were submitted, but that was it.
You should have also gotten an email that said that they were approved or denied, some type of decision email. If they were approved, you are fine to move forward with your plans. The actual implementation of the petition at this point in time doesn't happen until the time of graduation.
I also put in a plug. I just did a presentation about petitions last week, so it's on our website, recorded. Feel free to watch that as well. Okay. Will the graduation status in Bronco Direct be updated to applied? I applied in fall, but it is currently blank.
No, and actually that indicator that you see on your degree progress report is actually not related to graduation. So I want you to disregard that you see at the top in terms of grad app status. Disregard that, and it will not be updated. If you know that you submitted an application for graduation and you paid the $59, then essentially that's the term that you're being considered for.
Is the registration appointment a one-on-one Zoom call with a graduation advisor?
Registration appointment. No, if you're referring to the graduation registration appointment that I was referring to here, no, that is not an appointment with an advisor. And I also want to clarify, you do not need to meet with an advisor before applying for graduation. What I mean by this is that this gives you an earlier registration date for you to register for your classes. So it's a registration appointment for classes. Does not mean you meet with anyone. And again, you do not have to meet with anyone before applying.
Where do we get the class substitution form?
So those are advisor initiated forms. And again, putting in a plug again for Ashley's mini series on petitions that was discussed. So please make sure you watch that. It is available on our website. If you haven't met with an advisor and you would like to do a course substitution petition, depending on your major, you may need to meet with your faculty advisor, or that may be something that you can meet with one of us in the College of Science Advising Center.
Thank you. Okay, few more. Can you graduate with your major and finish your minor later?
No. You would need to graduate with both at the same time. So for instance, let me give you an example. Let's say you're done with all of your classes in spring, but you won't finish your minor until summer. You'd essentially be applying for summer graduation.
When are advising drop-in hours? I'm going to go ahead and put a link to our website that has that information about our drop-in hours and also just how to make appointments on CPP Connect. But your departments are also going to be sending out advising emails as well in the next few days if they haven't already, to kind of share how you can get your questions answered about advising.
And that's also a good opportunity for, if you do need to meet with your faculty advisor regarding petitions, you can set up those appointments to do that as well.
Okay, I submitted my course transfer transcript last semester, but it still hasn't been processed. Should I be worried?
So I would definitely just maybe make an appointment with an advisor just to verify that we have your transcript on file. It's possible that we have it and it just hasn't been added to your record. Again, those types of, transfer credit sometimes isn't added until the time of graduation. I think it's helpful to meet with an advisor to ensure we have it. For if we do, we'll just let you know what, it'll be okay, it'll be added to your record later. However, in the event that we don't have it, it would be a good idea for you to maybe resubmit or kind of try to track it down at some point.
Okay. Would you recommend graduating seniors spring 2021 meet with an advisor this term to double check we are all set for graduation?
You know, a lot of students do choose to do that. Again, I think it's based on the student. If you are absolutely sure that you are on track, that there is no need for you to meet with an advisor. And again, I want to reference the slide where I mentioned next steps. The College of Science Advising Center does our own review of the students that have applied for graduation. And if we feel you are missing something or we need some type of clarification, we reach out to you. So really, you could wait to determine if anything is needed. And if you don't hear from us, then that fully just means we're waiting for your spring grades to come in.
Okay, so this is about commencement. So it says, I know they are considering a drive-up commencement. That's news to us, but will they do a legit commencement once the pandemic is over?
I have no idea. No information surrounding that.
Is the automatic grade forgiveness system self-explanatory and will not need anything from our side, or will we need to do something related to that if we already submitted our graduation application?
So if you are repeating a course that you first attempted in a semester and redid it in a semester, there is no explanation you need to provide. The university will automatically do that grade forgiveness for you. However, we are finding that grade forgiveness doesn't pick up if you did the first attempt in a quarter. And at that time, I would recommend that you, again, make an appointment with an advisor or your faculty advisor so that they can submit that grade forgiveness. And actually, I think it's just the College of Science advisors that submit that. So scratch that, not your faculty advisor. You would have to meet with one of us in the College of Science Advising Center.
Or you can email sci_advising. We can also
Yeah, that would actually be faster.
Yeah.
That way, you know, if it's just a simple grade forgiveness from a quarter to a semester. Yeah. But again, we won't be able to do that until your spring grades come in.
I'm not too sure about this question. I think I kind of understand, but it says, would graduate school count as an expedite? I think they're referring to maybe their diploma maybe being mailed to them.
Yes, would. It would, because I've had that for students that are graduating in fall who got into like medical school and they needed like proof of the degree being awarded. That would count as a reason to expedite your degree. So you need to email me, Vanessa, F@CPP, and I can put my email in the chat. And then I work with the Bronco Advising Center to request that the degree be expedited. But I do need that proof. I won't be able to request it without the proof that you were admitted or you have a job offer.
Last semester, I applied for graduation and I got an email saying that I got approved and they had me pay for commencement and diploma. Is that a good sign that everything is okay for me?
So everyone pays the fee when they apply for graduation. It is $59. Again, there really is no way to confirm until, you know, your final grades come in. So there's really no way of knowing at this point, but the fee is required for everyone.
I know you've been on a roll, Vanessa, so if you need me to step in,
Oh,
I cannot. There's a few more questions. Okay, so if we apply for the summer graduation grant, will this automatically apply for graduation and senior registration?
It should. That is the goal that the university is trying to work toward, automatically applying for graduation for the student, so that they do get that registration appointment.
Okay, my DPR is messed up from the conversion from quarters to semesters. I have had several petitions to my DPR that haven't been changed on Bronco Direct. Will this affect me graduating this spring?
So again, it shouldn't, as long as you have approved petitions, which it sounds like you do. Remember, College of Science Advising Center will do a review of your record. If we find that something is needed, we would contact you to set up an appointment with us at that time to submit any additional petitions that may be required. If you don't hear from us, then that means that you are fully on track for spring graduation.
I applied for commencement in October. Will I be able to get a refund for it since there will be no commencement? And I applied for graduation appointment in October as well for spring 2021. Do I need to apply again and pay the $59 fee?
So I'm not sure if I understood the question, but it sounds like you applied for spring graduation. If you are truly done in spring, there would be no need for you to get a refund because that is the term in which you are completing all of your degree requirements. And again, that fee and that application is for graduation. It does include commencement in there. So if there is no commencement, the fee and the application still applies so that we can actually give you that diploma to prove that you are done in spring.
Once spring 2021 term is done, should we request our official transcripts for future applications such as grad school, or will we always have access to our Bronco Direct?
No, you will not always have access to Bronco Direct. So basically, from what I've been hearing from other students, you typically only have it for one semester and then they disable your access. If you wanted to request your transcript, I want to make sure that you request, when you request it, that you click on the box that says that you want it to hold for your degree to be awarded. Why? Because if you request it now, they're just going to send you your transcript now with no grades for spring and no degree. If you actually select that box, they won't send you out your transcript until your degree has been awarded. That way you have the most up-to-date and final transcript at that time. If you choose to request a transcript later, so like let's say a year after you graduated, that is an option. And you can do that through the registrar's office website. You don't need access to your Bronco Direct in order to do that.
And then someone kind of had a follow-up question about the transcripts. So can't we get transcripts from National Student Clearinghouse even without Bronco Direct access?
That is correct.
And then just to double check, we do not need the writing requirement if you're graduating spring 2021. Yes, that's correct. Don't need the graduation writing test. Well, thank you, Vanessa. That was very good. You were on a roll there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending. And thank you all for submitting for that poll, which will help us in the future. Please feel free to send me an email if you needed to clarify any of this. I know oftentimes students get confused surrounding graduation. So please don't be shy. Definitely here as a resource to kind of help clarify anything moving forward. Okay, thank you.